2 months ago, Anthropic released Claude Opus 4.8. 3 days ago, they just released Claude Opus 5. And my first reaction wasn't excitement. It was more suspicion. Because here's the thing. When a company drops a next generation model in less than 60 days before the last one, you have to ask yourself a question. Is this really a leap forward? Or is it just a company racing against its competitors, slapping a new number on the box and hoping nobody does the math? I've seen this before, not with AI, but with everything. There's a new phone every year that's revolutionary, new protein powder that's supposed to be the breakthrough that your body's craving. The tech and marketing world runs and thrives on urgency, but urgency doesn't always mean substance. So today I'm going to read you Anthropic's latest blog release and tell you that it's absolutely amazing. I'm just kidding. I'm going to walk you through what they're actually claiming, tell you what I honestly believe and what I doubt, and then tell you what it means if you're just like a regular person scrolling past this and sees something like Claude Opus 5. So what? Because that's my job, not to hype you up, but to tell you what's real. My name is Lucas and welcome back to the Business Algorithm Podcast. Let's start with the boring stuff because the boring stuff actually matters. So the pricing stayed exactly the same as Claude Opus 4.8. We have around $5 per million unit tokens, around $25 per million output tokens. And for those of you who don't really speak AI, tokens are basically chunks of words. So Anthropic is saying same price, more brain. And that's worth noting because usually when a company drops like a smarter model, you pay more for the privilege, the time, and that's actually pretty good because it didn't raise the price. Either that's confidence or it's a company trying to keep you from switching from a competitor. It might be both. Probably it's both. Now here's where it gets interesting. Anthropic put Opus 5 to the test using a model called arc-agi 3. Think of it like an IQ test built specifically to trip up AI. Puzzles that the model has never seen before, designed to measure actual reasoning instead of memorized patterns. And now, according to Anthropic, Opus 5 scored 3 times higher than the next best model on that test. That's not 30% better, that's 3 times higher. That's the kind of number that makes me stop scrolling because most AI updates these days, they're kind of incremental. A 3 jump over here, percentage points go up over there, things like that. And that can be taken as a real breakthrough, but I can't independently verify that number today. So I'm telling you what Anthropic claims, and I'll test it eventually and I'll report it back to you guys. They also tested it on something called OSWorld 2.0, which is basically, can the AI use a computer, open apps, click buttons, fill out forms, navigate software, the stuff that you and I use every day without thinking about it. Anthropic says Opus 5 beats every other model at this, regardless of the cost, and beats their own flagship model. Fable 5 is about the third of the price. So here's why one of that matters more than it actually sounds like it does. If a model can reliably operate a computer in the way that a human does, it's not a chatbot anymore. It becomes like an employee almost. And that's the difference between ask AI a question and hand AI a task and walk away. It's basically like a person almost. And Anthropic gave an example that honestly kind of impressed me. They handed a model the technical drawing of a machine part, like no image reading tool built in the task. Nothing like was handed to it. The model wrote its own computer vision code on the fly to interpret the drawing and then rebuilt the part correctly. Anthropic says every other model they tested failed after 5 times. There's also a smaller example that stuck to me more than a flashy one actually. There's a trading firm that gave Opus 5 the job of connecting to a brand new marketing data feed, something that has never existed as a template before, and previous models have claimed that they can't do the job. Opus 5 built the whole thing in a single session, including its own test to check its work. Building its own test to check its own work, sit with that for a second. That's not just generate code. It's a model verifying itself before it handles the result. It's almost like when someone is given a math test, when it says show your work, it's the exact same thing, but AI is doing it on its own. So let's see how we use this in real life, because that's kind of the whole point of the podcast. I'm running this whole system kind of like a small company right now. And honestly, Claude is basically the biggest backbone that I'm using for AI, alongside a couple other AI tools, but Claude is the biggest backbone, I can argue. Between researching, drafting, keeping track of what's covered, things like that. It's not one tool doing everything. I've been able to copy a system that a recent YouTuber has recently published, and it's actually helped me a lot, but the whole backbone is Claude in the back end. But outside of this little hustle, I'll be completely honest with you. It's not woven into my personal life like many people make it sound online. I don't ask it to make me breakfast or what should I eat for breakfast or make me a meal plan for the next 50 days on how to eat breakfast. And I think that gap, between it's useful for my business and it's like running my entire life, I think that's the gap that most people are living in too, like you and I. So the final take on Opus 5, separate from anything that Anthropic has said, I think that the 2-month release is a little funky. Not because Anthropic is like lying about the benchmarks. I really don't think that. I think at this point, we've arrived at a point where the AI models are racing against each other to become not only the best, but also to become the first in the headlines. That said, the specific claims here, the computer use numbers, the reasoning jump, the fact that they didn't even raise them, those are claims that even if half true, actually matter. Not for people building $1 million AI startups, but just for regular people, for the contractor who doesn't have time to update their website, for the person who runs their own little small business, but really hates doing all the bookkeeping. If the model can reliably operate software in the same way that a human does, at the same price, it's not a toy anymore, it becomes leverage. Anthropic also made a big deal about safety this time around, saying that Opus 5 is a bit more careful about being tricked into doing something harmful and is a bit more careful in its behavior towards this. So moving on to you, and what does it pertain to you? Like, what does even Opus 5 have anything to do in any relation, what sorts to you? It honestly means that the gap between I have an idea and I just built the thing is a lot smaller now. If you've been sitting on some small project, some side hustle that's just in the back of your mind that you've always wanted to get done, an AI automation for your business, a tool that saves you 2 hours a week, a first draft of literally anything, this is the moment to open Claude and literally just try it. It's more so that the barrier to testing your idea is not only basically free. It's a fraction of the cost of what it would take if you were to do it yourself manually. To be honest, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Opus 5 is magic and it's everything that you hoped and dreamed it would be, and it would be absolutely life-changing for you. I can't say that because I haven't tested it yet. Not even Anthropic claims this. But I'll test it and I'll report it back right here on the business algorithm. And if that's the kind of honesty you kind of want more of, I think it's the right time for you to hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to the Business Algorithm podcast. I'm your host, Lucas, and thank you for tuning into the Business Algorithm, where we find out what actually works.